September 23rd, 2021?
Yes, I was.
Did you respond to a call at 3390 Oleander Avenue in Skylark Drive?
Yes, I did.
What was the nature of the call?
It was a vehicle crash hit and run with a pedestrian.
Okay. Could you describe to the jury what you saw upon arriving on scene?
When I arrived on scene, I observed a school bus stopped in the southbound lanes with all its safety lights on. I also observed some debris in the roadway. There was a silver SUV that was parked on the northeast side of the roadway. Behind that was a child laying behind the vehicle with a lady kneeling down with a young child sitting next to that with another lady over top of her, kind of comforting her with her screaming and yelling.
When you arrive on scene, do you talk to anyone?
I did talk to some officers throughout the, while on scene, yes I did.
Okay. And were you there as the traffic homicide investigator?
Yes.
So what do you begin to do now that you're on scene?
As I'm on scene, I go ahead and start marking the roadway. Anything that pertains to the crash is spray painted with a orange circle. From there, waited on crime scene to take pictures.
As part of your investigation, do you consider things like the environment, the roadway, those types of factors?
Yes.
And what did you know about the scene and that day in particular?
There was no rain. It was dry out. The roads were dry. The roadway was clear other than the objects that were, of course, from the scene.
What was the visibility that day?
That day it was actually 10-mile visibility, so it was clear.
What about the surface of the road? Did you notice anything?
It's a stone, asphalt blacktop, no potholes within the roadway, like it just recently been resurfaced.
And about how wide are both of these lanes, the northbound and southbound lane?
The northbound lane is 10 feet 5 inches. The southbound lane is 9 feet 9 inches.
Okay. And is that fairly standard?
Yes.
Are you aware of the width of a 2017 Chevy Cruze?
Yes, I am. The width of a 2017 Chevy Cruze is 71 inches, which is 5 foot 11 inches.
And what is the speed limit on that stretch of road on Oleander?
35 miles an hour.
And do you know if along Oleander, sort of just before or after, that speed varies? Or is it consistent 35?
It's consistent 35.
I know you briefly mentioned this earlier, but what type of items did you see strewn about that roadway and off the side of the road?
There was a shoe that was in the middle of the roadway. There was some headlight pieces from the vehicle left in the roadway. There was a child's sock in the roadway. There was a backpack on scene and also a cell phone on scene.
Did those items to you appear to be freshly deposited on the ground?
Yes.
And what do you base that upon?
Based on the traffic that had come through there, these were items that if a vehicle had come through there, they would have been moved or blown off the roadway.
Okay. Did you collect, well, your first, I guess you marked these items?
Yes.
And you did so how?
With surveying fluorescent orange spray paint with circles around it.
Okay. And then were those items later photographed?
Yes.
All right, and then are those items later collected?
Yes, they are.
All right. Now, when you're on scene, what do you do to sort of document the scene? Do you create a graph or what?
In this incident, because it was a hit and run with a child, I requested the assistance of county to bring their total station out, which basically takes measurements and plots it as an overall map.
So did you, along with county, then create that graph?
Yes, we did.
All right. So may I approach, Your Honor? right, sir, I'm showing you what's been marked for identification as states 14. Do you recognize what you're looking at?
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
This is the actual map that the total station generates with the points that's overlaid onto a map itself.
Okay. And was this created there at the scene?
The points were taken on scene, and then they took it back and then created a map.
And are you aware of where those items were actually located on scene that are listed in the diagram?
Yes.
Okay, and does this fairly accurately in a graphical form depict the scene and where each item was?
Yes.
All right, thank you. This time the state request from the state 14 as evidence.
No objection. Without objection, what's been previously marked as states 14 for identification is now in evidence as states 14.
Request to publish state 14, Your Honor.
You may.
All right. Zoom in a bit. Actually, before I zoom in, what road are we looking at that's going left to right across the screen?
That is Oleander.
Okay, and this intersecting road up here, which one is that?
That is Skylar Drive.
Okay. If I zoom in, what do these items or objects represent?
Those are light poles, or not light, telephone poles.
Okay. And then the small yellow boxes, what are those?
Those indicate the pieces of articles that were measured on the graph, or with the total station.
Okay. And do you know if each of these items was photographed and collected?
Yes.
All right. And then each one has a different number. Do those numbers correspond to this evidence legend?
Yes, it does.
Perhaps. Okay. I've rotated the image, so now it's facing north. All right. So just, we'll put the photos of the items up in a second, but if you can just kind of walk us through, well, let me ask you this. Where was the backpack?
The backpack, was right here.
Okay. That's item 12.
Number 12.
All right. And when you arrived on scene, was the victim still in that area?
Yes.
Okay. Next, you're on top of the backpack?
When I walked over to see, kind of get a glance of the injuries, the backpack, I believe, was next to her.
Okay. $14 is indicated as a left shoe, and that would be along the center line?
That is correct.
Okay. All right, 7 would be is that the right shoe at 7?
Yes.
Okay. The approximate distance from 7 to 14, you able to say?
No, that I could not.
Okay. Let me ask you this. In part of your investigation, did you review the school bus surveillance video?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did you see where the actual point of impact occurred?
The point of impact would have been roughly within this area right here, by where the number 7, the shoe would be.
Okay. And then the victim, when you came on scene, the victim was over here
That is correct, yes.
by the backpack.
Yes.
All right. And then the other shoe is further down the road.
Yes.
Okay. In your training experience, is it not unusual when there's a collision between a vehicle and a pedestrian for the victim to actually be launched and articles? I'm trying to ask a very specific question.
Overwhelmed to the leading objection.
And for the person's articles to actually be scattered.
Yes.
All right. Was that consistent with what you saw at this crime scene?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Approximately how far from the point of impact to where you found the victim on the side of the road? How many feet approximately?
With the length of an average bus, anywhere from 35 to 45 feet, and for the final rest, it was anywhere from 80 to 100 feet from point of impact.
80 to 100.
Yes.
I want to show you, I could, the scene and the carbon photos, which exhibit number was that? They were from this morning, was it 11? It is 12. So I have up on the screen now, States Exhibit 12. These are some of the photos taken from the scene. Do you recognize them to be as such?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right. What is this item over here to the right-hand side of this is photo 4892?
That is a child sock.
Okay. And then these items here?
Are part of the passenger headlight.
And this was photo 4894, is this one of the shoes?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and then as we look further up the road on page photo 4894, is that the other shoe?
Yes, it is.
Where this cursor is? And then is this the backpack?
Yes.
Off to the right. What, if any, information are you able to gather, based on the scattering of the articles and the location of the victim, as far as your investigation?
So, per my investigation, the vehicle was northbound on Oleander. The child was actually attempting to cross due to getting on the school bus, was in the roadway when the vehicle actually struck her.
Okay. And could you tell from the bus video whether the lights on the bus were flashing?
Yes.
Were the stop signs engaged on the side of the bus?
Yes, they were.
And were they engaged at the point the defendant drove through the intersection?
Yes.
And that was at the point the child was attempting to cross the road to get on the bus?
That is correct.
I'm just making sure I'm not missing anything I want to ask about the photos. All right. I want to take you to a specific side of the road, the front, or the turn between Skylark and Oleander.
Yes.
All right. Can you describe the edge of the shoulder, the road at that right-hand turn?
There is a little bit, there's some erosion there. Off to the side, it's several feet off to the roadway.
Okay. And do you recall seeing any tire tracks actually transversing that the dirt where that erosion occurred?
The only tire marks or anything like that were from.
They're going to object non-responsive.
I guess, Andrew, did you recall seeing tracks, tire tracks?
Yes.
Okay. If I may approach around. All right, sir, I'm showing you what's been marked for identification as state 16. Do you mind taking a look at those photos? And do you recognize those photos?
Yes, I do.
Is that from the day in question?
Yes, it is.
All right, and primarily those photos are capturing which portion of the road?
This is the northeast side of the intersection, Oleander and Skylark Drive.
Okay. This time the state requests to move state 16 into evidence. say would request to publish state 16.
All right, Jim, what's been previously marked as state 16 for identifications now in evidence is state 16, it's composite, and you may publish.
All right, this is page 1 of, looks like 12 photos, so 1 of 12. I want to direct your attention here to the shoulder, the gravel. Do you see this tire track here?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And does that tire track continue across the eroded portion of the road?
Yes, it
Not
does.
even the road, I guess, the shoulder.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Now, is there any indication that the tire track that, I guess, transverses that eroded portion of the shoulder came anywhere other than from Skylark?
No.
If, in your experience, when a vehicle leaves the road and drives into the grass, what occurs to the grass?
With that time of morning and the grass being wet and the soil still being wet,
Judge, okay, call speculation.
Training experience as a THI.
Approach, counsel.
In the 5 and 6. Or in the 5 and 6.
Maybe, probably.
Right.
We're trying to get yeah, we should cross at 3:30.
I know. I don't know whether she's gonna go.
Is there, as part of your training and experience, have you received training in the effect of, a car and tires specifically being driven across different surfaces,
yes,
including grass, gravel, dirt?
yes.
Okay. And in part of that training, are there certain things you look for to determine the driving pattern of a car which is no longer there? It is driven away, but you come upon a scene. What are some of those clues or cues that you look for?
We look at the whole area. A vehicle that is going over gravel or grass, especially because grass and gravel is usually uneven, they will leave skip marks, causing the grass to overturn or the gravel to overturn, showing that it's a fresh mark. In this picture here that you're seeing, there was no evidence of any vehicle leaving the roadway off of Oleander, other than the vehicles coming off of Skylark making that turn onto Oleander.
And in making those observations, what can you draw from that, I guess, without even seeing the video? I mean, in the absence of that, what does this scene tell you about the path of travel?
That the vehicle never left the roadway.
Okay. Now, in a situation, again, have you, your experience and in your training, have you had the opportunity to inspect vehicles which have been involved in various crashes?
Yes, I have.
All right. Have you been able to inspect vehicles which have been impacted by potholes of various sizes?
Yes.
Okay. what type of damage would you likely see in a vehicle that may be severely impacted by a pothole?
One this size, a vehicle of that statute, a 2017 Cruise, you're going to have bent rim. If not a blowout, you're going to have a lot of undercarriage damage because it sits so low to the ground.
Okay. I may be jumping ahead, but did you have an opportunity to observe the vehicle that was involved in this crash?
Yes.
Of the type of damage that you see, do you see damage consistent with having crossed over this portion of the shoulder which was eroded?
No.
All right, did you have an opportunity to review the school bus video?
Yes, I did.
All right, and what, based on your observations, as part of your investigation, what, if any, evidence are you able to obtain from that video?
The only evidence that we were able to obtain from that video, is that the vehicle was stopped with the emergency lights on, and that a white vehicle from the front camera of the bus, that it was a white sedan, go through the stop lights with all disregard to the stop lights, stop signs. On the side camera, it continues going northbound past the bus. You can see a person being thrown with a loud bang. The rear camera actually shows the vehicle continuing north. You never see any brake lights or anything like that showing that the vehicle did not make an attempt to stop.
Now, you said the speed limit was 35.
Correct.
All right. What is the speed limit if a school bus has the stop sign engaged? What must vehicles do?
They must stop.
Okay. Did you also review the video from Classic Car Auto, the shop?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And what, if any, clues or evidence were you able to observe based on that video?
With that video, it does show the school bus come up, activate its emergency lights, comes to a complete stop. Then you see a white sedan come from behind the bus, never applying any brakes, and it does not appear that the vehicle even tried to slow down.
Based on what you saw in the videos and of course the debris you recovered from the scene, at that point, were you able to identify a make and model of the vehicle?
No, all we had was it was a white white sedan.
So what did you do with that information?
That was given out to our neighboring agencies, St. Lucie County, Vero Beach, Port St. Lucie, and it was also distributed eventually out to the news media for the public's help.
Okay. And from the time that was distributed to, let's say, around 4 p.m., did you begin to receive responses to those?
Yes, we started getting phone calls coming into 911 of the public saying that they believe they may have spotted that vehicle.
Okay. Now, at some point, let's say maybe between 3 and 4, did you receive notice that the defendant had appeared or traveled to the county jail attempting to turn herself in?
Yes.
And are you aware of whether an officer from the Fort Pierce Police Department traveled to the jail to meet her there?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And were you provided the vehicle's whereabouts?
Yes.
And where was that vehicle located?
That was at 2050 Oleander Boulevard, apartment 7, I believe, which is also the Island House condominiums.
And do you know who lived there?
Ariana Colon.
Okay. And approximately how far from the crash at Oleander and Skylark was that vehicle located at that condominium or apartment complex?
Approximately 1.9 miles.
And did you travel there to see the
Yes, I
vehicle?
did.
Did you notice any damage to the vehicle?
Yes, I did.
And what damage did you see?
I noticed that the front lower part of the passenger side bumper was damaged. The passenger headlight, the cover was also missing parts out of it. I noticed a dent in the passenger side hood along with the bottom passenger side windshield busted, which was all consistent with that of being struck by a pedestrian.
Okay. And was that consistent with what you saw in the bus surveillance video?
Yes.
The collision. Okay. Was that vehicle towed from that apartment
Yes, it was.
and brought where?
That was it was taken to Tri-County Towing for inside storage.
Maybe an obvious question. Why would you tow the vehicle at that time?
Because this was the vehicle that was involved in the hit and run, and at which time we needed to go ahead and do a vehicle inspection on it.
Okay. Now, do you thereafter obtain a warrant to search the vehicle?
Yes, a search warrant was conducted or completed.
Okay. And do you know whether photos were taken of the vehicle after it had been towed to Tri-County Storage?
Yes, it had been.
All right. I'm returning now to the photos. Which exhibit number was that? The scene and the auto. I apologize. This. That is 12. Okay, thank you. States Exhibit 12. All right. This is photo 0693. What do you notice about the damage to the vehicle based on this photo?
The damage to the right side bumper, to the headlight cover, the hood, and then also the windshield.
Do you see from this angle any damage to the driver's side of the vehicle?
Not to the driver's side, no.
All right, I guess focusing here on the headlamp, what do you see? By the way, photo 0704.
Pieces of the headlight that are actually missing.
Photo 0717. I have my cursor over this portion of the hood. What did you notice about that portion of the hood?
The way that the hood is pushed up, which is consistent with a pedestrian or child being thrown onto the hood.
Now, you said pushed up. I know it's a two-dimensional photo of a three-dimensional object. Is that a dent?
It is a dent.
Okay.
So the way the direction of the dent.
And can you explain more what you mean by the direction of the dent?
So right here, the hood is actually pushed down and it's crinkled backwards towards the windshield. So showing that when the pedestrian was hit, it's thrown onto the hood, and the weight of the pedestrian actually will crinkle the hood or dent the hood in, and it will leave wrinkle of the way that the pedestrian is traveling.
All right, what do we notice about this photo being?
What we notice here is where the hood was pushed back, it damaged the A-pillar here along with the windshield, which is consistent with a head being crashed or hit with.
Is, in your experience, any of this damage, this type of damage, consistent with just running over a pothole?
No.
All right, and again, photo 0724, what are we seeing?
The windshield right in here where the impact from the pedestrian head is actually right here.
Okay. And why do you say it's right there?
It's the deepest point of impact, which is made, from the pedestrian's head.
All right, this is photo 0848. Do you recognize what we're looking at?
Yes.
And what is this?
This is actually the passenger side mirror. We suspected that this was blood from the victim.
All right, photo 0857, what are we looking at here?
So these are the pieces that we collected on scene of the headlight cover. This is me actually piecing the cover back together.
Okay, the next photo, 0861, was it a match?
Yes, it was a perfect match.
All right, do you know whether that vehicle was equipped with what I believe is called an infotainment center?
This one, it had the OnStar system, which is equivalent to the infotainment center, yes.
Okay. And did you request any assistance in obtaining that data?
Yes, I did.
And who provided that assistance?
That would have been Deputy Garduno from Okeechobee Sheriff's Department at the time.
Did you also obtain a search warrant to search the defendant's cell phone?
Yes, we did.
And were you able to make contact with individuals through the search of that phone?
Yes.
And did you interview or speak with those persons?
Yes, I did.
Finally, did you receive the medical examiner's autopsy report?
Yes, I did.
And based on your investigation, what did you conclude about the traffic homicide investigation?
So based on everything that we determined that Ariana Cullen was traveling south or northbound on Oleander, when there was she was approaching Skylark, there was a school bus stopped with all its lights, safety precautions activated. Yancy Rodriguez Gonzalez was attempting to cross the road when Ariana Cullen passed a school bus, crashing into Yancy and continued to her residence, which was the 1.9 miles. And she was in and we determined that she was in actual physical control of that vehicle at the time.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Cross-examination, Mr. Shaw.
Yes, sir. Officer, you determined that she was in actual physical control of the vehicle because Ariana Colon actually told you that she was driving the vehicle, correct?
She told one of the officers along with the text messages, yes.
But for her telling you that you were one of the officers that was involved in your investigation that she was the driver of the vehicle, you had no other independent information that she was the driver, correct?
Not at that time, no, we did not.
At any point in time, you never discovered that she was the independent driver at the time that the accident occurred?
Not at the time of the accident, no.
Okay. Now, what did you do in preparation for your testimony here today?
I reviewed body camera and went through the pictures through my packet.
Okay. You began your testimony by saying you gave the measurement of the roadway, correct?
That I gave the measurements?
Yes, you were told the measurements of the road.
Yes, I did.
And when did you actually take those measurements?
That would have actually been on scene before the county got there to set up their total station.
Okay. You wrote a traffic homicide report, correct?
That is correct.
In your traffic homicide report, do you ever mention the width of the roads in that report?
Yes, I do.
All right. Do you ever mention whether or not the road has lighting or lack thereof?
I believe that is in there as well.
Okay. And so as you sit here today, that particular section of Oleander doesn't have any streetlights available at where the accident occurred, does it?
No, it does not.
It is considered to be a very dark part or stretch of the road there, right?
Yes.
All right. When you also arrived on scene, the victim in this case, the 10-year-old girl, who was the first officer to arrive? Do you recall?
That would have been either Officer Zamora or Officer Miklosh.
Okay. And when you arrived, the child was still on scene.
Yes.
Had EMS and paramedics arrived to start giving her medical treatment?
I believe they arrived the same time that I arrived.
Okay. When you were able to see her, could you describe what her clothing looked like?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Do you remember if she had dark clothing or light clothing?
I believe she had blue jeans on. I'm not sure what color the shirt was.
Okay. Now, the pictures that we saw of the vehicle, those pictures were taken in a garage, in the storage garage, correct?
Correct.
In a controlled environment,
Correct.
in a very well-lit area.
Correct.
At the time that this accident occurred, it was some 6:30 in the morning.
That is correct.
It was dark out, was it not?
Correct.
All right. And when we start with the damage to the lower right or lower passenger side front of the vehicle, you would agree with me that that particular damage would not be readily available or observable from the person who's sitting in the driver's seat.
On the lower bumper, no.
Right. And so as you look at the lower bumper from Miss Cologne's vantage point as the driver, she wouldn't have been able to see that.
Not the lower bumper, no.
And she wouldn't have been able to see the damage to the blood stain on the back of the rear right side mirror, correct?
That is correct.
Now, based upon your experience as a traffic homicide investigator, did that mirror didn't move as part of the impact in this case?
No.
All right. Now, the headlight. Once you take the vehicle to the storage yard, you have absolutely control to do what you want with that vehicle, right?
Once we have the search warrant, yes.
All right. The headlights. Did the headlight work?
I don't have that information in front of me. Unfortunately, I have a typo in my report on that as far as the inspection.
Okay. You don't have that information with you.
No.
You
but
can't tell this jury as you sit there today whether or not that headlight was working or not working, which may have been an indication to Ms. Cologne that she impacted something other than a pothole.
No. Due to the fact during the video you see that both headlights are working off the school bus.
Okay, all right. Now, we talked about this car being a Chevy Cruze. The vehicle itself, it has OnStar.
Correct.
Based upon your training and experience as a traffic homicide investigator, have you had training related to the operation of OnStar? Some training.
Yes.
And is it your understanding, your basic understanding of OnStar and its operation that if it's available, the information, if the vehicle is in an accident, it will notify or at least contact the driver or send a response to the vehicle?
If the sensor is triggered.
Okay. In this particular case, was that done?
No, it was not.
It was not. OnStar did not trigger Ms. Cologne as a driver to notify that she had been in an accident where the sensor which was triggered.
Correct.
All right. Now, there again, as a traffic homicide investigator, you have an opportunity. You see all types of cars in various conditions.
Yes, I do.
And based upon the year, make, and model of the car, some cars are equipped with airbags.
Yes.
And airbags can range from driver's side airbags to front passenger side airbags, as well as curtain airbags.
Correct.
And curtain airbags are airbags that would drop all the way down the side of the car from front to back of the interior compartment.
Correct.
And those airbags also deploy when a sensor on the vehicle is hit, typically in an accident.
If the airbags and sensors are working properly, yes.
Okay. In this particular case, did the driver's side airbag deploy?
No.
In this particular case, did the front passenger side airbag deploy?
No.
In this case, did the driver's side curtain deploy?
No.
In this case, did the passenger side curtain deploy?
No.
Now, you have an opportunity, because you have complete control of the vehicle. When you get the warrant, you're free to do what you need to do as part of your investigation to evaluate the vehicle, right?
Correct.
One of the things you should do is make sure that the vehicle is operational and that the brakes work, and it's mechanically sound.
Correct. We put it on the lift, remove the tires, check the brakes, make sure there's brake pads. We take depth of tires, so all that is done.
Okay. In this case, you found that Mrs. Cologne's vehicle was mechanically sound.
Yes.
And so, although she may have hit a child, there was nothing about the operation of her vehicle in terms of the driving, the alignment, that would have given her notice that she's just hit a child.
Correct. She also had illegal window tint on the vehicle.
Objection, Judge. It's non-responsive to my question. Can we approach?
Council approach. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take up a legal issue with the attorneys. I'll leave that to the jury.
The top is just, yeah. 2450. Because I did this, I put my hand in front of it.
To the officer had nothing to do with the illegal tint. It was clearly the operation of and the mechanical operation of that vehicle in terms of its driving and its brakes. He's now put in front of this jury that she had a vehicle for that had a legal tint, and that is a crime for which she is not charged. And Judge, I have to ask for a mistrial. We've spent 3 days here, and this witness has been supposedly should be outside the rulings that this court has previously made, and for him to make that statement is totally inappropriate. It puts my client in a bad light for having illegal tint. It's a crime not charged, and Judge, I have to ask for a mistrial.
Response?
All right, good. The question was asking about, is there anything about the car that's unsound that would make it basically unsafe? That, like, once again, just like with the witness yesterday, knowing what the answers are, I mean, this is in the report. It says she has a tint that's, first of all, it's not a crime, right? It's maybe a traffic ticket, like speeding's a ticket. That's not going to vitiate the fairness of the proceedings in the eyes of this juror, such that they're going to ignore the evidence and convict her because she may or may not have had tint that was beyond the range. But secondly, this is elicited by the line of questioning. We as attorneys must be very cautious, right? That once we ask the question, the witness is going to understand the question the way they understand it and answer it the way they understand it. And the point had been made, there was nothing wrong with the alignment, okay. But to then go on about there's nothing about this vehicle whatsoever, when clearly they're making the issue that she could not have seen this child. And yes, a dark tint will affect her ability to see clearly. Now, I didn't bring this out and I wasn't trying to argue it. This is a holy creation, it's a whole creation by the defense counsel, Judge, which we all know what happened last time. Don't need to be doing this again, and we got to keep things in proportion here. We look at the charges, we look at what's been said. This in no way has overridden the fairness of the trial, such that she's entitled to a new trial once again. So that's, I think, responsive to everything the defense counsel said.
All right, questions on cross-examination. No way elicited the response from this witness that the tint was illegal. He could have easily just answered that the windows were tinted. I can only assume that cross-examination frustrated the witness to the point where he wanted to, I don't know, I'm not going to put words in his mouth. With that said, having tint that it might be too dark, which would make it illegal. The fact that he said that statement in front of the jury doesn't vitiate the fairness of the trial to the extent that mistrial would be appropriate at this point. Officer Stokes, I am warning you, do not add to anything that you are not asked. If the windows are tinted, say they're tinted. There's no reason for you to add that extraneous statement that they were illegally tinted.
I apologize, Your Honor.
Now we have hopefully no further issues, because I will have to consider in any subsequent request the totality of what has been sent before the jury. At this point, it's illegal window tint, and that's it. It's not enough for a mistrial. She is still going to get a fair trial in the eyes of this court. This jury come back.
Yes, sir. Judge, I think there needs to be a curative instruction given to the jury.
Are you asking for it?
Yes.
What are you suggesting?
I'm not sure, Judge. I'm still processing how we can give a curative instruction that then still doesn't highlight the issue.
That's why I asked if you're asking for it. Sometimes a curative does more damage. Mr. Stone, do you want a moment to think if you can come
Yes,
up
sir.
with a requested curative?
Yes.
All right, we'll take a short recess. Mr. Stone, when I return to the bench, you can let me know if you are still asking for a curative and what your suggested curative is at that time.
Yes.
We'll be in recess.
All rise, please. Ladies and gentlemen, circuit court is in recess. You may be seated or
Need a battery? You want the battery?
Battery, yeah.
So I gotta turn the camera off. You wanna let them know or whatever? Too late.